Mambition. I'm always bringing the energy, even if I had to press record twice. Welcome back, guys. It's Tiffany, and it's just myself today, and the wonderful Caroline Marshall, who we've been meaning to speak to for the longest time. But guys, before we go into all that, let me just tell you a bit more about her. So she is a founder of Upsource, and it's Upsource, a multi-award winning virtual assistant agency, and she's also mum of two boys, aged 7 and 5. Caroline has been featured online in the Metro, the Daily Mail, Grazia, Stylist, and the Guardian. And she talks openly about her own experience of motherhood, redundancy, and freedom of building something over her own podcast called Bump to Business Owner, which is a space for founders who are also mothers to share, to be open. So something we can certainly appreciate on Mambition. So welcome, Caroline. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today.
And I was just saying, I'm loving the red lippy. I'm a little bit jealous, actually, today, but never mind. I think this, like I said, this conversation, it's been a long time coming, probably about a year, actually, cooking.
Well, sometimes things take time, don't they?
They really do. And I think that's the same as motherhood. I think we were saying earlier that, I don't know, with motherhood, it just teaches you about, I don't know, the power of like timing. Sometimes you want to get things started, but you don't always have to rush. Even if you can do things in small, short segments, it still counts. If you only have 15 minutes while the kids are napping, you can still maybe chase your goals. And I think that's how my ambition is actually materialized, from that place of we don't have the time, but we'll use what time we have. And in time, it'll snowball into more time.
Yeah. And it may not happen now, but it will happen at some point. We always knew this recording would happen. It was just when we could all get together.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. And like I was saying as well, we don't, just before we started recording, it's just been apparent, isn't it? It teaches you that maybe you don't have control over everything. I don't have control over my children's personalities.
Oh, I think we do with the first, don't we? And then the second comes along to blow that out the water.
Where did you come from? Like,
yeah. You are not the same. How did that work?
Well, it certainly humbles you, and I think it allows you to go through life with perhaps a bit more lightness, to kind of let go of the tiller. I was just reading about the other day about the tiller, which is like the wheel for the ship, like let go of that tiller a little bit and maybe you'd be fine. You can still steer that the ship, but gently. And motherhood teaches you that, you can take that same lightness into life, into dark times, into tragedy, into chaos, into loss. And somehow you figure it out, because motherhood is figuring it out in real time. So yeah,
exactly that.
Yeah. So we spoke about your redundancy, unfortunately, which is just something you have experienced, and we also talk about the shocking statistic of women that have gone through the same. What was that number you said of women?
Yeah, pregnant and screwed. 74,000 women have lost their jobs since 2016. It's either since 2016 or it's each year, and it's up from 20,000 since 2016, something like that. I'm not an expert on that stat, but as you can tell, but it's increased by 37%. So I think like I said, I've got a podcast, Bump to Business Owner, and I've been running it for a fair few years now. And I think just after COVID, some women a bit further along in their motherhood and business journey would be like, oh, I think it's better now, remote working, we all get it, we've got lives. And I'm like, no, like there is like more of an understanding amongst some companies, but they're few and far between. And my experience of obviously redundancy, that was obviously pre-COVID, that was back in 2019 I got made redundant, but I've since seen my friends experience the similar journeys to me, and it helped me feel not alone. But it's not good. It's quite shocking how many people lose their jobs due to motherhood or maternity leave.
Oh, that's really sad. So I'm hoping that this conversation brings some hope, some, even if it's just like practical steps perhaps that you took, inspire someone listening to this to know that, I don't know, that you can go through something, and with time, with life, with movement, with some good choices that moves you forward. But take us back to that memory, because I think I remember you. I'll always remember this actually from the initial intro. I think you mentioned there were some glass windows.
Oh my gosh. So, I think the whole point about redundancy, and this is what we're getting to with the statistics of motherhood in early years, is that redundancies like this it happens. Like I was just saying, well, I said it off this episode, but in our household, I think we've experienced redundancy 3 times within 5 years. And my husband works in the tech world. It is a way of life during that start, and it is a game, the startup game, but they should always be fair and doing what's right, and they definitely didn't do that in mine. I took very little maternity leave. I'd been promoted very quickly in my lead up to having a baby. They had no maternity leave policy in place, despite being a company full of women, all women apart from the 2 founders. And no women were on the founding team, as you can tell. And I took barely any paternity leave, partly due to money. They only brought in statutory pay. We were not prepared or ready for this. And we always did what I think is the right thing. We didn't look at my income versus my husband's income. We looked at it as a pool together, and where the potential of my career could go. And that was our choice, and we did that. And it meant I went back to work very quickly, and it was handled terribly, really terribly. But I did start to salvage it. I don't like to be knocked down. I don't like to be overcome. I didn't want to go work somewhere else. I clearly underlying just had such passion for the industry and what the team did, not that company, but what we were doing, because I've now built it myself and very involved in the wider industry. But I think it became clear they started treating me in a way they really wanted me to quit, and I couldn't see it. I was just, struggling and feeling like I was in the wrong. I was not doing things right. I had a lot of self-blame issues at the time. And then, they were doing lots of chats and reviews. There was a management layer under mine they'd put in. It wasn't working. There was a lot not working at this company. I wasn't happy. And that day was quite traumatic. I can't lie. It was like a full team day. It was quite a virtual working environment. Not all the company was in, but everyone was on this day. And I was like, for the first time ever, I felt like I just didn't have work to do, and that's never happened, because I was always like working evenings, working late, doing anything I could for the customers and the service running. And I worked far more than the founders, that's for sure. And I probably shouldn't say that. I was like,
edit that.
they'd put a meeting at the end of my day in my public calendar going Caroline's role review. And I called my husband. I was like, I think I'm being made redundant. He was like, no, you're not. No, like you can't be. You've given so much. Like you're friends with them. Like this is not happening. I even said it to like my colleague, and she was like, who was the most senior person there other than the founders. And she was like, no, like that's, and from her perspective, she's my friend now. She didn't know. She was like, no. So she wasn't hiding anything from me. I was like, no. She was like, no, because she was just as shocked as I was when I told her. And they put it in this glass. They booked a glass office. They didn't shut the curtain. I was facing out, and there was a long table with all the team there. Just able to turn around and watch me being made redundant and the look on my face. And then I had to go get my stuff and just walk out. I was like that, and I did get them back a little bit. I kind of ended up playing a bit of a game, and like, I'm sorry, I don't apologize for this, because I knew what they were doing was unfair. And the whole point of redundancy, it's got to be fair, it's got to be what's right. You've got to do it with the best intent. Like redundancy will have to happen if your company's losing money. I get it. I'm a business owner now, and it's awful, and it's not what you want to do, but you've got to do it well. If this has taught me anything. And so I kind of got them back with the fact, because they clearly wanted to do my next meeting virtually. They were holding it far too close to them. So I was like, no, we're doing it in person. We're doing it here at this office because it works for me. And I came and told them everything about what wasn't fair about it. And that I'm like, because with the redundancy process, you can like basically fight for your job or fight why it's needed, but you need time to do that. You need time to build a case, and there wasn't enough time. And I was like, well, you clearly don't want me to do that, so I'm not, but this isn't a fair redundancy package, and so I need to tell you, and I can take this as far as you want. I didn't want to go to court or anything like that. I was too knackered. That's it as well with all these women. I hadn't heard of Pregnant Then Screwed at this point. I might have called them if I had. I did during COVID when I didn't know what the rules were and if I could even go back to my job, which is another story. This was only my first job loss within the first 18 months of motherhood. But I'm okay with talking about it, partly because they didn't get me to sign an NDA, which they probably would have done in hindsight. But, and I think there's so many women, including friends of mine, who are under NDA. And it's really important when we're at our most vulnerable to share these stories and that it isn't fair, and that when things aren't done that's fair and things aren't handled properly and quite traumatically, in all honesty, like it got to the point of almost bullying towards the end in that company. And I think it's really important to share that, because you're going to do things in your career, make decisions. Like as a business owner, you have to make awful decisions. I'm not going to beat the bush around that. Now I'm on the other side. But if you've done it with the best intentions and you've really tried, which I know they can't say that about my position there. They didn't try.
No, I get that. I think it's I get it. With the lenses of a business owner, know that you get it. Like from a financial perspective, from a need perspective, you get why it happened. But as someone that was in it, especially from that emotional kind of aftermath of, the setup, the shock, the shame, I don't know, maybe the grief of how, like, the setup of everything, it sounds like a lot, and especially in that vulnerable situation you're in, that you just had a child, and I know a lot changes about us, about emotions, about bodies. So I think it's just like, they got you at a time that it felt like a lot.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. It was the shame of it as well. Like I didn't really have shame and redundancy, because at that point I was a bit like, well, lots of people get made redundant, don't they? But I felt like I had failed. Like I'd put my job first in my first year of motherhood, and it didn't work out. And I not only failed there, I'd failed in motherhood as well, because I didn't make the right choices. And they made me feel that I wasn't good with the people across the team, even though I'm seeing one of my friends from that company on Friday. I've got a lot of that team on my team now, all done the legit way, let me add. But they made me feel a way about myself to kind of break me even further when I was in a vulnerable moment. And that's not cool to do to a mother. And you should never do that to someone ever, let alone a mother who's like trying to figure it out. And giving a lot to a company, it was thanks to me. They had a lot of good clients there, let's just say.
I think it's I think redundancy perhaps it gives us that, it exposes how much attachment we have to our careers and our identity, and now it's a source of meaning. I go to work, I provide, I am, like, let's not lie about it. We all, it sounds toxic sometimes, but we are very much see ourselves as our jobs. What do you do? So first you meet someone. So someone who's been made redundant must feel like, if you just lost your job, you're out.
I don't know.
What do you do? I think that's a big thing. I think that's why, even recently, when I looked at LinkedIn, when I look at a lot of people, like, just want to get a job. I know the job market has been really tough. There was a man who posted about how he had this incredible, quite senior job. Eventually took a job as a postman, and he was just like, no, I'm just so happy to have a job finally, because I think for him, it must have been that identity crisis. It must have been the sense of maybe leaving for work in the morning and coming back. For us, I think work has a lot more kind of, I don't know, like psychological, like, construct for us. So it's not just the money. Yeah,
I'm so grateful for that experience, in the fact that, like, you are bang on. My whole identity had been tied up into that role and that job, and I'd gone all in for it. And ever since, even now, and I see it with business owners, with founders, they're so tied to their businesses. And I can say to you, I'm really, like, I am who I am. I am not just Upsource. I'm not just Bumped business owner. I am not just a mum. And it's taken going through something of losing what I'd got so attached to, of being my identity, for the growth of someone else's business, that I was like, wow, that, yeah. And it's a really great experience to go through. I can't lie, it's like, just sound backwards on the other foot, I am grateful for the experience, for what happened. It's on them that shouldn't have happened, but
Mhm.
I'm grateful I got to go through that and then like come out the other side and
Yeah.
be aware of my ways that I could, like, I took too much responsibility for that.
Okay.
And at the time, and it meant I got a lot to work on myself. And yeah, I think the attachment piece is so important. We shouldn't be attached to our careers as much as I was then.
Yeah. And I wonder if I mean, it's going to be a bit of a big question here, just like what you said about like your identity, especially now that you're a mom and as you build Upsource, is there something that you think about a lot? Just this idea of, I don't know, like, does it widen like the lens of your value, your attachment, how you look at work, how you look at motherhood, how you look at the life you're building, who you are? Because I mean, for example, we've had women on the show who've maybe gone through a divorce, and I think for a lot of women, motherhood, marriage is so just like the summit, right? Like when you get here,
Mm,
or you're in that room. And I wonder if sometimes losing those things helps us realize that perhaps they are a grounding space. It's important, but there's so much more to us. And then it gives you the mentality of, no, I'm going to build myself beyond this so that I'm a
mm,
bit more, I don't know, maybe not bulletproof. I'm a bit more, I don't know, I have
resilient.
broader shoulders. Yeah, maybe like, yeah, do you
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Well, they say that it's famous, isn't it? That Olympic
Mhm.
medalists, they get the gold medal and they're like, what now? Because
Yeah.
they've attached their whole identity
Yeah.
to that. And yeah, for some people, the gold medal is marriage and kids, exactly that. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, you're going to go through, whether you go through divorce, if you don't go through divorce, you are going to go through tough times in your marriage where you question it. I don't believe anyone who doesn't say they don't. And same with parenthood as well. And the reality of that, because but no, I know far too many think of having the baby and not raising the child to become an adult, which is the job you are signing up for, really,
Mhm.
isn't it? It's not having a baby, it's raising a child and raising a good human. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see the identity crisis you'll go through when you realize that.
Yeah. And I obviously love the fact that I think, it's easy to kind of like look at how you've catapulted yourself, right? But I know there's a mess in the middle. We do get that. We're not undermining that. But I definitely want to hear the role of, you mentioned your dad, like his encouragement, because I always think
Oh.
about, do you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good memory. Well, good memory. And no, he yeah, that summer, and I had
Mm.
I was able with the money to take 2 months off, but obviously it wasn't
Okay.
2 months off because then you're job hunting the whole
Mhm.
time, aren't you? I did clear out the kitchen. I remember once I had a real moment of like, I'm going to clear out the kitchen. I was talking to my dad, and he was like, "You could just go start on your own," and I was like, "Nope." No, never. Hate that world. Hate the industry. Shan't do it. Not touching the VA industry ever again. It's an awful place. Too stressful. And then I think it's probably 2 months later. Had a job at 4 days a week, and
Okay.
an old contact from the NHS got in touch with me. She had a
Mm.
copywriter friend who needed super low value, 10 hours or less a month VA support. And she was like, I know that's what you did. Do you want to like chat to her? And I was like, well, yeah, I work 4 days a week. I could do this on the side. And I started to find Facebook groups, and I was like, oh, maybe if I had nice clients, I'd quite like the VA world. So it wasn't long before I was dragged back into this world. But yeah, it was, my dad had spotted potentially the entrepreneur in me before, the business owner in me before I did, of like, and he's right, like, yeah, being employed for someone else just isn't for me anymore.
Yeah. What is it about that? Because I always think, what is it about someone that makes them that type of person? Because I think there's so
Mm.
much more to it. I think it's like an iceberg, isn't it? I think there's just so much beneath the surface. Entrepreneurship, it sounds sexy, sounds really attractive, but I know that it comes with a lot of ups and downs, a lot
Oh
of
my God.
downs.
Well, it's like having a baby. You have the baby and then realize you've got to raise a child. You start the business and then realize,
Uh-oh.
yeah. And then even like, I know at my point, I've got a team of 40, and people are like, I want to get to this point, and they don't see that
Mm.
I'm at this point. And I'm like, well, I've got to do all this and get here and get there. It's not the end point.
Mm.
I think retirement is, but God knows when that'll happen. But I do think it is a personality type, whether it is neurospicy people who are just a bit like, I know that I'm someone who needs structure, but I also really need that freedom. And I think mothers do in general, don't get me wrong. But I think outside of that, I've always been that person who's been like, well, I want to work these hours. I want to do this. I want to go over there at this time. I want to be able to work here. And obviously motherhood, you can do less of that working in cool, fancy places, obviously, because we're all tied by the school holidays and then it's expensive. But I do think it is a real, like, it's twofold. It's like the structure and how things work. If your brain is just that little bit like better working and you're someone who also can really commit. But I'm really passionate about what we're doing, not just as a business, but as an industry and what the VA industry needs. And I think that is another piece. You've got to, there's some people who become business owners that don't want to, but they're just so passionate about something they can build or something they can grow or something they can contribute to and make a change for. I've definitely worked with some reluctant founders who are like, I was an academic and then apparently I'm a founder now. Help. Yeah, exactly that. And but I've been doing it now for 10 years, supporting founders, and I don't tire of it. I don't tire of that excitement. Yeah, there's a little bit of like, oh, I've seen this before, and oh, you need to do this. But it's that constant work around the potential. I love the excitement, the opportunity there is versus working in a system like a huge organization, a huge corporate, all the structures that you can't change. It doesn't work well with me. I'm like, why can't we change that? This is too slow. Why are we doing this? Let's move quicker. But also I do appreciate the moving slow a little bit, but I think it just wouldn't work for me in a big organization. And just the reality, I had an assembly I needed to go to this morning. My eldest needs some one-on-one time. So I'm picking him up first and just taking that time with him. I love that I can do that.
Okay. So for you, it sounds like the reward is worth the risk, it's worth the uncertainty, it's worth the hard work, it's worth, I don't know, just like the downside of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are downsides. Did I have a bad month recently? Yes, and there are that. It can all look very shiny, like I've won awards, I'm in the press, I'm in this, and got a team of 40. And the reality is that you're constantly looking at what could go wrong, what is going wrong, like what relationship wasn't handled well. How could have you served that person better? How could have you led that team better? There's a lot. You've got to have a particular brain that's very good at switching.
How do you switch off? I'm interested on, or how do you or do you, I don't know, like, because sometimes I do get that, again, sometimes people make it sound toxic, but sometimes life is one long, endless chapter of like working and children as soon as they go to bed, laptop, like, and I get that. Like, I mean, I'll give you an example. I work from home, and I think I always say to myself, the upside of working from home is that, again, I go to every assembly, then they love it. Like, come to nursery and play with their kids for a few hours. I'm like, Lord Jesus, have mercy. Okay, I'll come. But you know what I mean? Like, and I get to do a lot with my children. I love it. I mean, when they were little, I've been to the park with them. And that's because, for example, I used to run my own business, and now I do work remotely. But I work remotely in recruitment. I don't have a base salary. I work off like commission. So for me, that the downside of, potentially having this month to month of, I only get paid when I actually deliver the result, the outcome, is the ability to really be around for my children. Like, I'm around for everything, dentist appointment, and I love that because this is what I want. I know that I don't want to miss school assemblies. I don't, personally, and I'd rather sacrifice, other things for it. So working remotely means I have to, like, just work really hard, stay up at night, work weekends sometimes when you're not around. And I'd love to hear how that looks like for you from that sort of like structure perspective.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I started working remotely and from home before the world did. So pre-COVID in my last business. And it all came downhill when I was 6 months pregnant, because I talked about that overworking earlier. I learnt before the world did, working from home doesn't equal lazy people sat there not doing their work. It equals people less boundaries and people overworking. And for the first time in my life, I ended up in a doctor's office because I was actually isolated. I had none of my friends were at that stage. They didn't get it. There was lots of social events I just didn't want to be around, because it was like, I just couldn't be around the people that didn't get it. All these 30th birthdays with lots of alcohol and stuff just wasn't my season for that. And I think there was like less understanding about there was less like mocktails and things around, you know, less like really good mocktails, which there are now loads of, which I love. But yeah, I wasn't into that season, and I was working all the time from home, so I was so isolated, and it all came crashing down on my 30th. And after that, it's been like a lifelong process of being like, how did I get to that, and how can I prevent it? And you know, I've gone through real seasons, and it was actually after we like almost lost my second child during COVID. He had a sudden unexpected postnatal collapse and almost died after he was born. So the recovery journey for that has been really challenging, but something I have learned from that is that I have to look after myself, and if I don't, it will all come falling down. Everything will. And, you know, part of this was like channeling myself into the business, because it gave me that escapism from all of this. So as part of rebuilding of that is that I do respect boundaries. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I have seasons where I'm like, oh God, everyone needs me. And I'm working evenings. And I do get a bit of a rush from that. Like, it's a dopamine rush with the sales and the recruitment. It's I do get dopamine hits from that, so I have to be careful during those seasons as well. But I prioritize myself I do prioritize meditation. I prioritize my walks. When I do the school run, there is quite a walk to my kids' school uphill, and like it's a sunny day today, I will definitely do it. And I really prioritize those, because it's just me time listening to music or a podcast. I prioritize joy. I love the theatre. I've probably been once a month this year already, and I've got next month's planned, and cinema trips with my friends as well. I do pickleball. So something I have to do is not fill my calendar too much. So also like, no, I love doing all these things. And by the way, yeah, if you're in the early years, don't get me wrong, when I was in the thick of it, me and my husband could not leave the kids for a certain period on their own with someone, because they were just too chaos. But my kids are 5 and 7 now, and they are absolutely fine with my husband, who also thankfully works flexibly. But yeah, I have to put those boundaries in with evening working. I think I would have more, when the kids are home, open my laptop, and I try and not be like that. Do I tend to work most evenings, whether it's going networking or opening my laptop? Yes, but I can easily see evenings where I'm like, I'm not doing that tonight, or I'm working a full day today because I've put the kids in wraparound, or my husband's getting the kids. I'm working a full day, so therefore I don't work the evening unless a sales come in and I'm getting that dopamine hit. I don't know. So I'm not perfect, but after that, I've put a lot of things in place and had a lot of therapy.
No, but I get it. I think, you know what, I think I always think to myself, like, wouldn't life be easier if I wasn't ambitious? I really think it would, because I think,
it would. I think
so. Because, you know, I don't mean to, like, you know, I don't know, I like, because I know this is a whole thing about, like, I don't know, the porn of things, like the porn of, I don't know, being a stay-at-home mom, the porn of thinking like maybe people will stay at home more with the kids, spend all day with their kids, and have this lovely bond. And I just think we tend to like look at everything in such a sexy filter sometimes. But yeah, I definitely think sometimes I have thought to myself, wouldn't life be easier if I maybe wasn't so ambitious, if I didn't have these things I wanted to achieve? And even, you know, been married to someone who has, you know, we have the financial means, but I just know there's something in me that I can't drop this. I can't drop this work thing. I can't drop this energy I get from this other side of my life that is not related to my children. And I often think about, so for me, I think what I've actually done is I've got a lot of like mental, I don't know, frames for how I look at work. I look at work at number one, like, yes, it physically may take me away from the children, so I'm not physically, you know, staring at them like this for 24 hours. But actually, the mother that they need, the mother that I'm becoming, is a mother that they'll need over the course of their lives. Right now, I'm a full-time entertainer. You know, what I do all day is, and so my daughter sing Moana, and honestly, my daughter she loves singing, she loves dancing. She wants to like wear a fairy dress to school, to nursery. If she could, that's what she would live like as a princess. I know it sounds really silly, but that's
That's
literally
so
my daughter.
cute.
Yeah,
And now's the time to do it. You don't
yeah,
want to, like, you don't
absolutely.
have that. They say that a lot, but I was the same as a child. I'm definitely not a princess now, sadly, but I had that time when I was
Oh,
her
my
age.
daughter, honestly, she is like, she wants to, I literally like, should put her in a castle and like, throw
Mhm.
like fairy dust all over her. She is that child.
Aw.
But no, I think I see how the time away from them builds me up in such a good way that I know they will need. I think about them being 10, 15. I don't know, I mean, friendship struggles, relationship struggles, heartbreak, complex life changes. And I just know that the mother I'm building, I will be able to hold that for them when they need me.
Mm,
So that's
mm,
one of the reasons why that's one of my mental frames, why I look at work and look at the
yeah.
person I am, um, and how work builds me up. I look at me going to the gym, and even though again it takes me away from them physically, but I just know again I'm building my muscles. I'm strong. I'm resilient. Whatever you can whatever life throws at you, kids, I'll be, and I can carry it with you and support you, and I won't break down. I may break down a bit, but I won't completely break down because I'm also resilient. So I just
Mm.
think that that's one of my frames. I don't know if you ever think like that. Just the way that work
Oh,
plays a role. Yeah.
100%. And I'm completely aligned on you that I feel I even just in the mini zone of sacrificing maternity leave, I sacrificed maternity leave both times, or like straightforward maternity leave, a year off, 6 months off, completely off,
Yeah.
3 months completely off, never experienced that. But I'm doing the school run more than a lot of my friends are able to. I'm able to pick up things a lot easier for them. I'm able to do the gym during the school day and during a work day rather than in the evenings. And, sometimes I might do the evenings. I'm a bit fluid in my schedule, but, I think and that's what I see the same as you. I'm building also for the time where I still need to be around for the more complex problems when they're older. And that's what I'm building a life to still support. But something will shout about, because I know full well as a divorced child where my ambition has come from. And the stats don't lie in the fact that we as mothers feel the need to explain our ambition, feel the need to explain why we're doing this. If we don't make ourselves financially independent, we are at risk, and we shouldn't be doing that. And women do not have the financial equality, and we are a long way from financial equality. And it would be one thing if mother and caregiving was being financially rewarded and treated financially equal, but it's not. And we live in a world that, which rewards finances, should I say, rewards financial. And I think we should never be apologetic of the why, because for me, the worst thing I could ever do is leave myself financially vulnerable and be a stay-at-home mum and think and I think being a stay-at-home mum is a brilliant job, but worst case scenarios, and I'm not talking just divorce, I'm talking like death, and talking bereavement, sadly, I just think I couldn't leave myself financially vulnerable like that. So, I think that's a really important message, because I feel we talk a lot about explaining why we do this, when the most important message sometimes might be it's the most sensible thing to do is to keep yourself financially independent. And it's not anything on anyone's marriage, I'm saying that, and I really hope, but
No,
also I
I get
want
it.
to keep choosing my husband,
Yeah.
not choosing him
Yeah.
because I have
Well,
to.
honestly, thank you so much for saying that. And without, going into much on that, I get that. I get that. And, some of the, I've said some of the glow up moments of my life, without going into too much detail, has been some decisions that I've made to like do something with my children that cost money and I paid for it. And we've been able to have some experiences during some dark times of my life but I was able to make that financial decision of giving us that experience, and it's been
Mm,
beautiful. And I see that, because I think, I always talk about this as well, like motherhood, marriage, it's sold to women as a summit. I mean, even with my daughter now, she's 3, you would not believe this, but she has this interest in weddings, and I'm like, girl, you're 3, like, what she has, just clock wedding.
oh yeah, my little boy, there was a girl last year who was,
Okay.
they're getting married.
Oh,
He doesn't have any choice in it.
yeah. Yeah.
So some children are just
Yeah,
like that.
it's fascinating to me how I mean look, I don't judge me on my TV choices, but I watch Love Is Blind a lot, and
Yes,
it's
fair.
so much of the women in there. You can just see that they just really want to get married, and I'm not against that. I'm not one to say I generally think choosing the right partner, having a partner, can fast track your life in so many ways. Like you can have the most incredible ROIs, and I've seen it, I've experienced this. But I definitely think like women, and as we get older, we are sold this dream of marriage. It's like it's going to solve some problem in us. And I think I love that you've pinpointed our finances, and again, just the choices you can make, and being in a position where you can make good choices and you can make good financial choices wherever life takes you. I think that's a powerful move. And I can see how work is not just a form of purpose or a form of meaning, but also giving us that option to choose well, right? Without desperation, without leaning on someone just for the finances.
And that
And
benefits everyone, your
yeah,
partner, your future kids, your
yeah,
kids now, like, just being able to choose your life as financially you are independent
yeah,
is something that, could be worrisome if you fell down a trad wife hole, for example, on the internet.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm interested. I never thought I'd ask you this, but I'm interested to know a bit more about your money mindset. I mean,
Mm.
I find all that interesting. I read Morgan Housel's a couple of his books about money, the psychology of money, and I've always had my own kind of thing of like, I definitely believe that, like you said something about, oh, what did you say that was amazing? You said something like, money, finances is the way society rates it, like it opens certain doors.
Mm.
And I definitely think, yeah, I'm interested to know, have you had to work on that side of your life to like making peace with making money or wanting to make money? Like it's okay to want to be rich, or I don't know, like, or, that sort of
Yeah,
rewiring.
definitely. And I
Yeah.
think in the early days of my VA journey, it was more that I was exposed to people who
Okay.
I realized not everyone had my mindset.
Okay.
And no, feeling like I had to be sorry for it,
Okay.
of like why I'm like this when they don't know why I'm like. It might be people they
Um,
literally don't know me from Adam, and it was I have had that when I was in a group, and I was like, oh, I'd like more money, and they're like, do you though? Like why? And I'm like, I don't know how to answer this unless we go down a therapy session here. But I was like, or if you want me to expose like, my bills and show you like, either that, or do you
yeah.
like, do you want me to go down that route? But I think
Mm,
it's, yeah, early in my VA business journey, I did come across some people who it was like, oh well, who had their own blockers, and
yeah.
that's what I was exposed to, and I was like, oh, should I feel like this? Like, is this bad? And then so it's taken me a few years to be like, nope, this is just who you
Yeah.
are, and like if you're denying that, you're like changing who you
Mm,
are. And I think we need more women who are more like, yeah, I
mm.
want to earn money and
No,
find a way to
direct.
get there.
No, I get it. I definitely think, yeah, like I don't know. Sometimes there's a whole kind of there's a dark place on the internet for like all successful people, awful, or like I don't know. I think sometimes we do like have this kind of like, a woman should be nurturing. They should sit home and should be gentle and soft and not be like I want to be successful. But I definitely think money is an extension of your heart. I think I've always thought I'd rather be able to pay someone bills and pray for them, and not just
Mm.
pray for them because prayers works wonders. But
Women are more likely to give their
yeah,
money away to
yeah,
invest
yeah,
in other women as well who
yeah,
need it, because only 2% of funding goes there. We are more likely to gift it to our children, gift it to our family, to support
yeah,
others. So we end up poor either way. Joking.
yeah.
No, we end up,
I like
but
that.
it's like we do use
Yeah.
our money for good. There's that whole piece
Mm,
of like we're more likely, and the pension gap is a thing. It's not just about
yeah.
the gender pay gap. There's a pension gap, which is huge. I found there's a student loan gap. We're getting penalised in our student loans for
Mm,
taking maternity leave. So we
yeah.
need more money, let's face
Yeah.
it. I was looking at also Stylist today, so off the topic, had an article about the cost of periods. It's like £20,000 in your
Oh,
lifetime or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. So we're literally paying just for being women.
Yeah, and then you think about the beauty tax, makeup tax. I mean, all the
Oh
MAC
gosh.
lipsticks. Oh, MAC needs to mark you need to discount those lipsticks. I mean, I remember pre-children, I spent a lot on lipsticks. The other day I went through my collection and I think I have 20 MAC lipstick. I'm not should be buying them for and I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore because okay.
I know. I always say to my husband when he says I'm taking too long to get ready, I'm like, blame the patriarchy who set me these standards. I'm brainwashed into thinking I have to be this way. So.
Well, it's true. The time it takes to. Someone posted about the other day, the amount of time you spend, even put on makeup. For example, when someone says, "Oh, can you hop on this quick Zoom call?" No, I can't just hop on a quick Zoom call.
No, you can. By the way, here's my trick: wear red lipstick and have a light, and then you look, and the Zoom filter. So there we go. 3 tricks to a quick. I've just saved you all time and money, people. And if you don't have a ring light, make it a lamp. Just put a lamp on your face.
Just I can just watch someone underneath the lampshade. But yeah, no, I totally get that. I think it's always interesting to touch on these topics, like the financial equality for women. We spoke to I would be silly for forgetting her name, but she's quite a high profile woman. I mean, she challenged. I can't. I'm so sorry, guys, but I really can't remember. She's very high profile. I can see her face in my head now, but we spoke to her, and she has an investment company for women, and she spoke about even for her. I mean, for example, she went through a bad marriage, and it's a bad divorce, and it really sort of just highlighted to her the importance of finances. So yeah, I think we can't talk about it enough. But also, I think to kind of take that in a different direction. I often think about just how money for me allows me to live the version of life I want with my children. For example, I value traveling, I value their education outside of the formal education. And I know, for example, that's something I've been able to do a lot with my kids. We've been to Poland, we've been to Spain, Italy, different parts. We've been to a few places, and I see that that's the motherhood story I want, and money plays a key part in that because that's what I want for them, the things I didn't have growing up, the version of life that's not just having straight A's or anything, but being able to experience different cultures, see the world, talk to anyone, see things that blow your mind. It makes you, I don't know, open your perspective of the world, what is possible. But that's definitely something that I want for my children, and I see how me being financially able to do that is important because this is the story I want to write as a mum.
Yeah, and I think that's more than okay to say. And it's and also talking about the challenges of getting there. We're not there. For example, sometimes our turnover can look really great on paper, and I'm but that mostly goes out to paying the team, and then all the SaaS subscriptions I have to pay for, and then the tax, the small business tax rates going up, and it's just all the costs have been going up for small businesses, sadly. But and it's okay though to say I'm gonna push through, and this is what I want, and hopefully it'll all be worth it in the end.
Yeah, I get that. And like you said it earlier as well. I can't remember what context, this idea of it's the journey. I think sometimes it's, you kind of set out maybe to be rich or whatever, and that's great too. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think sometimes it's the journey. It's that journey that makes you feel as if you're living the most authentic version of yourself. I'll give you an example. My sister is a year older than me, and she's in property, so she has what you would call a normal job. It's not even paid that well, but she's always been incredible with money. So whilst we were at university, people were partying away and clubbing away their money. EMA, do you remember EMA? I don't know if
I remember EMA.
Thank you. But do you remember EMA money? My sister saved her. I will not believe this. When my sister finished university and everything, she had 50 grand saved, and this is from not having a very when it comes to money management, my sister, she's a real boss. But anyway, so that investment allowed her to then start into property, and now she has 4 properties. But what I was trying to say is, to my sister, that's not something a lot of people can do. The struggle that comes with managing 4 properties, because it's a lot more drama than it is money. But she said to me the other day, she said, Tiffany, it's like a game, and she enjoys that game, and that's how she's chosen to live her life. And I said, that's incredible. So if you go into that thinking, because that person over there was running a business, that person over there has 4 properties, I want to be a property investor. Sometimes you've got to think to yourself, what game can I play and play well? And do I have the risk to play, or do I have the mental threshold to play, the capacity to play? So I definitely think it's all about like looking at, what stage you're setting up for your life and how best you can be the lead character in it.
Yeah, and and there's one thing with the shiny filter of
Yeah.
social media and awards and press and all of that stuff, and then that day to day where it's heavy, like team of 40 people. We had a month where we had, including myself, loads of bereavement, and I was just like, oh, it feels really heavy. And that's just the nature. The more people you have in your life, the more stuff that goes, the more people problems, and the more like nice people things as well.
I
That's
get
what I
it.
balance it out of. And you've got to be in a place to know that's what you want, and if that's the job you want as well, because that's my job now.
Yeah, to like maintain that many lives and responsibilities, and I get that. A couple of things I want to talk about before we, start wrapping up. I definitely want to talk about that outsourcing gospel or model, or tell me more about that, because I think, letting go of certain things that maybe other people can do for you, or
Oh, I am fully in
okay,
the belief, like, we
okay,
shouldn't be trying to do everything. And it really is one thing. We've talked so much about our jobs allowing us to spend time with our kids. But what we've not talked about is, oh, I want to be able to work from home so I can put the laundry on, so I can clean my house, so I can do all the admin I need to do. And there is so much you can get rid of off your plate. And that's why we work so much with founders and leaders, because back in the day, I mean, anyone who doesn't know, Upsource, we're a virtual assistant agency. We provide fractional, virtual, high caliber virtual assistants, executive business support, personal assistants, business partners, business support, anything operational admin that we are experts in. And it used to be back in the day, it would be like, oh, just the CEO would get that, or there'd be like loads of secretaries, which is now gone. For many years it's been gone. AI hasn't got rid of that. That's been gone many years ago. But PAs became the secret. It was only when you got to a certain point of leadership. Whereas now it's like, actually, you could have someone for 2 hours a day and they can change your life, and they could deal with all those WhatsApp notifications you're getting, and deal with all those emails you're getting, and just learning how to train AI to do things for you. That's also our job now. And whether you're a business owner and can do that, and if you can't do that because you're in an organization where you can't do that business wise, I am just in full belief, like, what would it take? Always have a goal of someone else doing something for you. If money is your path, then that's the way to go, because you got to get to certain points. But for me, it was always a goal to have a cleaner for one day a week, and now we've got one, and she's amazing. She's like, I rely on her so much for so many things, and it sounds like such a privilege, and it is, but I've worked, because I know her being there on every Thursday means even if I have a week where I literally don't touch the laundry, she'll just sort it out for me on a Thursday. And it's such a peace of mind. So then I can focus on the business and my kids.
No, but I get that, because I think that that's something that perhaps we traditionally struggle with as women more. This idea of, I don't know, you want to seem to be capable, you think you need to be everything to be,
It's
I
because
don't
we
know.
were the ones doing it for the successful CEOs.
Yes,
And
yeah,
that's the reality.
yeah.
It was like, that was our job. There's that old thing behind every successful CEO, there's a wife. We don't have the wives. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't do the cooking, my husband does that, and so I am in a household. But whether that is another piece as well, are you doing too much in the home, and you need to work out, if you're both working full time, if you're both working, or even if you're 4 days and doing it, is a day a realistic time enough to get everything you need to do admin wise, life, kids, house. And I think always looking at how to make things fair in your, if you've got a partner at home, in your relationship, or if you're co-parenting, whatever your setup is, if you've got family that support you, and you know it's not a thing money wise, but you could ask for more help from your friends and family, and you know, tag team on helping each other out, doing play dates so one can get their admin done, and then there's always ways around it other than the spending money on people. But also, if you are spending money on people helping you, you're really helping the economy, so never feel bad about that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So what sort of tasks do Upsource normally helps you with? Is it more work related, obviously, like, or is it, do you see what I mean?
We largely focus on B2B service-based business startups and
Okay.
scale-ups, but especially our female founders who are mothers, they really understand what we can take off their plate personally. Less so, interestingly, I've had a demographic of a dad and a mum. No, they weren't together, but they were both running similar businesses in similar fields. The woman outsourced way more personal stuff than the guy did, which was really interesting. They were both at the same stage of parenthood, all of that, but she didn't have a wife at home. And you know, things like school dinners, you know, booking classes. I mean, back in the day, 10 years ago, I worked for a really great, amazing young startup founder. I'd book his Barry's boot camp on a Monday. That was like my first job at a Monday 9 a.m. was to make sure Barry's was booked. And it meant like he knew his, you know, and it was meant he didn't have to think about that stuff because his calendar was, I loved his calendar. It was one of my favorite calendars. But you know, making sure people's time is spent well, making sure your calendar is spent well, keeping you accountable with your work, with your goals, making sure you're spending time on the right things, travel, booking, whether it's a family holiday or a work holiday, making sure that happens, making sure childcare is booked, you know, holiday clubs are booked. So that's a big one. There's always lots of school holidays coming up. So there is so much when you've built a relationship with the right person that you can take off your plate and just have that real support and that connection with someone who kind of gets you and wants to like help you succeed.
Wow, I love that. I recently was listening to a podcast. I can't remember the name of the man who he also runs a virtual assistant company, and he's huge on like just the whole topic of what you can outsource. He was like, you know, he knows people who have like tens of like VAs to help them. He was like, again, he had a family. He has a family, so his thing is like what outsourcing provides. Because I think it's the idea of time, isn't it? Time well spent, a life well lived, filled with as many, I don't know what, you know, relevant memories as possible. And I know, you know, we've got to clean our house sometimes, but I've also had that idea of getting a cleaner, and I think you mentioned it is making me feel like I need to remember to do that, just because you know what I don't even enjoy cleaning, you know, so I know I don't get anything from it, and
take away what you don't enjoy, what you're not good at, and where what you're not
I
good at,
am
and what
not
you don't.
good at it.
Yeah, what is it? What you don't like, what you don't want to do, and what you can't do. There's some things you
Yeah.
can't do, like bookkeeping or something. You know, things like that. You could probably do the bare minimum, but you don't know the ins and outs of it like a good bookkeeper. And you know, social media scheduling, I write loads of my posts, but I have someone who is in all the planner and then repurposing my posts. I have people in my content. I haven't had to schedule something on Instagram the other day and I was like, oh, this is new, I haven't done this in like a year or two. There's so much. I've especially in the early years, I had someone who was really there personally. I screenshot her school invites to parties. She put it in my calendar. There's someone who can go in my inbox at any point and I'll be like, oh, can you just draft this to so-and-so, send these profiles to this client, and oh, I forgot to reply to this person. Obviously, I don't have someone in my inbox all day, every day, but in time, when you have someone in your inbox in the day, then they just pick all of that stuff up. They know you well enough to be like, okay, I'm dealing with all of this. I just need your response on 2 of these emails today versus the 30 you normally open up to your inbox each day. You might only open up an action 2. And, you know, AI, we're using it. And also everyone's expected to be an expert in that. And let's face it, who's been an expert in tech until now? The tech people. So it's kind of like, don't worry, it's overwhelming, but we're here to help with that as well. And make sure, you know, we're speeding up and quickening up and things, making sure everything's tidy. Who has a really untidy Google Drive or Microsoft Drive? A lot of people.
Well, I love it. I think it's and I get it. I do get it. I think the way I see it is, especially when you have children, they're just, and life is happening. There are things that we do that connects us with our children, and there are things that are just part of the things that makes life work. Like, I don't know, like just, I don't know, laundry, washing dishes, meal prep. It doesn't matter who does it. Like, as long as your kids are fed, as long as to stay spending time with you. And I think as you become a parent, you do think about optimizing your time, because it's just not enough of it to do the things that are important. And I think once you start
Exactly.
to, once you start to recognize what's important, like I've started to recognize like rhythms. Like my son loves me picking him up from school. It's just in that time where he has a lot to tell me, and it says the most it does in a day. And I find that as much as I can, I will pick him up just because we just have that moment. But other things, I can ask the grandparents to do, so it's just finding the rhythm and leaning more into those connection moments and being able to accept help, know that you don't have to do everything. You don't have to, I don't know, kill yourself to make a point about being capable. There are so many other ways to express your strength. Yeah.
People always used to look at me, pre-kids, look at me oddly, like I didn't cook. And they're like, what are you doing when Greg's cooking? And I'm like, what's your husband doing when you're cooking? I don't understand. And also, like, have you ever does your husband cook? Because they are messy when they cook. There's no someone having to clean up after that. He's got a lot better at
Yes.
cleaning up, I have
Yeah.
to say. But it was such an odd reaction to like, okay, why is it okay that the woman is the go-to cook in so many relationships, but when it's the man in a relationship, why is that odd?
Like
yeah. So I've always kind of got used to people looking at me a bit strangely when I say I'll get someone else to do something, because I'm quite happy with that.
You might as well give them more to like oddly look at or something, right? It's like, oh, one more.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your boys, because I do think there is joy in like what you observe about your children, or the silly things they do or say, or how they, I don't know, change your perspective of the world. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, both of them do all the time. And oh gosh, I never thought I'd be a boy mum, and here I am. And
You're not ready.
I
You
was
do all
in
the
a
princess
very
dresses.
female household. I know I
Oh, really?
was. And honestly, I think though part of me just knows that this was completely for me. Like the resilience, the chaos, the danger they put me in. Sometimes we're all Aries, Leo, we're all fire signs in this house. So, and I think I wish I could have learned more from them when I was a child. I think it would have benefited me to learn more about the male species and where they start from. And my second is such a mummy's boy, so it's wonderful as well. Like I love having the mummy's boy. The other will go between us, but having that one where I'm like,
he's loyal.
He's loyal. And we do bounce off each other, you can tell. Even when I'm trying to tell him off, we're just like, okay. So no, they really are. And my eldest is like the biggest empath, and so sweet and very kind and very happy for others. And when I've come back with a business award, he's picked it up and put it on the shelf, things like that. And he's adorable and loves dinosaurs as well. And so spent a lot of time at the Natural History Museum, which is worst places to spend your time. It's such an honor with them, even if they fight, even when they're very, very, I don't know what to say about being a boy mum. It really has opened my eyes. It is a thing. I think the early years is really tough when they're running in different directions, jumping all over the sofas. And I think we started to appreciate, not in all, but in general, there is a little bit of like that energy piece was a thing. And I'm, after almost not having Jasper in my life, I'm just grateful that we get to have this family as it is. I do wake up every day and think I'm just so lucky, because we almost came too close to not having it. So I'm very, very lucky with them, even when I'm tearing my hair out, because they've not put their socks in the wash bin or anything like that.
I get that. I've always said the whole point of, I always say this, you can hold gratitude and you can hold tiredness at the same time. We
Oh,
can't.
two things can exist at once, and I had real issues with that
Yeah,
in my early years. I think there was still that whole, well, you wanted
yeah,
children, well,
yeah,
you wanted to be pregnant, well, at least you can get pregnant. And it's like, I can be happy to be pregnant, but still struggle. And I really wasn't given those two truths, in all honesty, with my first. So I am a big fan of, like, every day I'm grateful.
yeah.
So more grateful than your average, because I've seen how close we got
I know what
to
you
losing
mean.
a child. So I've kind of peeped behind the curtain about how bad it is, and it's always worse than you'd think. And but at the same time, I can still be like, you two are driving me mental today.
I get it, and I think that's something I always hold as well. Like I always talk about how I lost my mom when I was quite young. So for me, motherhood is real. Like my mom, I lost my mom. I'm close to the age now that my mom was when she passed away, and that's very real. It's something that
Yeah.
I think about I think about death more than a lot of people. And I know that sounds really crazy,
Mm.
but not in a bad, sad way, actually. A lot of more reflective. It leads me to be more intentional. It leads me to just like sit with life a bit more. And I see a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't think, because I think it does come with its burdens as well. That weight of life, that weight of gratitude can come with some burdens of, like, I don't know, you just overthink things, or maybe something too intentional, too I don't know, I can't explain it, but yeah, it does have its ups and downs. But overall, would I be the same person if I didn't lose my mom? Probably not. Would my ambition be it? Probably not. Would I be as driven? Probably not. Would I be as happy? Probably not, because I've realized, like, real joy that can exist with sadness, but it's still joy. Just for waking up this morning, I have two wonderful children, they're in good health. So yeah, I just think there's just so much more to it, and it's okay
What a
to
full circle, because we did say
yeah,
that earlier. It
yeah,
was like, I've not experienced joy. And I'm not talking about the joy of my kids. I'm talking
yeah,
about the joy I feel when I'm sat watching a really good theatre show. The joy I feel when I'm sat on a beach and the sun's out. I'm clearly
yeah.
craving to be on a beach right now. The sun's out and I can feel the sea. And like, that joy is so much stronger post my second child versus pre-children at all, my entire life. And it is that's, I think, sometimes the burden you bear by, like, as you've kindly shared with loss, is that you get to experience the joy so much more.
Yes. Oh man, this conversation has been, yeah, I feel like it's timing. Yes, it was meant to happen now.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you for
Caroline, you're
having
so
me.
amazing. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for being open. Yeah, it's been honestly what I needed, and I think I'll definitely be thinking about this a lot. Probably be up tonight thinking about it. That's the thing about my ambition and speaking to so many women. It's like, it's just so much stays with me. But yeah, thank you for sharing everything. Where can people find you online?
Oh, so Instagram, I'm Bumped Business Owner. If you want to know more about Upsource, where we are Upsource, and LinkedIn, I'm Caroline Marshall, but I think my handle might still be like Caroline Pooley, which is my maiden name. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn as well, and www.weareupsource.co.uk.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really fun. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I know normally Alex would say, smash the like button. So yeah, smash that like button. But don't smash the computer. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting the podcast. And we will see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you.